In this video we're going to build out a serverless REST API with Azure Functions and FunctionMonkey in as short a time as I can, essentially a sort of lightning live coding session which will hopefully work and I'm aiming for around 15 minutes to do this. And I basically started, if I'm using Rider, and I've started off with an empty Azure Functions project and I am going to begin by creating a model. So we're going to create a basic sort of to-do, classic to-do API. And FunctionMonkey, if you've not come across it yet, kind of uses commands, command handlers, and bindings to functions, which it does for a sort of declarative system to let you build up Azure Functions. But hopefully, if you watch me code this out, it will make sense. And at the end, I'll give a link to a sort of more in-depth deep dive into how this stuff works. So yeah, we'll start by creating some folders for models, another one for commands, and another one for handlers. Okay, and we'll start by creating a model, and we're going to call our class to-do item. We need this to be public because it's going to be sort of shared across the API into the FunctionMonkey compiler, which needs things in an assembly to be public. And we're just going to get a couple of basic properties. So an ID, title, and whether or not it's complete or not. Okay, and then we're going to declare a few commands that do things to our models, and we're going to declare 3 commands. One will be to create a to-do item, and these need to be public, and we need to implement the iCommand interface from FunctionMonkey. So I'm going to quickly add the FunctionMonkey packages that we need, which is FunctionMonkey itself. Add that, and then the FunctionMonkey compiler, which injects itself into the sort of MS build chain to compile things. To create a to-do item, we're basically going to pass it a title. That's it. And then we're going to create a command to get all to-do items. And in here we'll use a generic version of the iCommand interface. So the iCommand interface is actually mark a C# POCO type class as something that FunctionMonkey will recognise as a command. And it can optionally return something. And if it does, you specify its type of a generic parameter. And we're going to return a read and a collection of to-do items. Again, just needs to be public. Finally, we'll add a class to complete a to-do item. Excuse me, actually checking my phone was on silent. Complete to-do item. Needs to be public, and we'll supply an ID to this. Okay, so now I've got 3 commands. We had another directory which is just for some basic services, just to demonstrate how sort of DI works in FunctionMonkey. And in here we're going to define a repository class, interface rather first, to-do item repository. And we're going to have async methods on this on the basis that we replace this with a real repository, and we'll have our code kind of ready for that. So we're going to create a to-do item based on a title, and we'll have that return an actual to-do item once it's created from a title. We will have one that is a complete, and that will take the ID of an item. And then we'll have one that gets our to-do items. Okay, so that's our basic interface, and we'll have this as an internal. And then we're just going to add an implementation of this, which will be a really basic implementation based around a list. So just a really simple in-memory implementation. Okay, implement members, and we're literally just going to say here that we've got a collection of to-do items. Actually, private read-only. So to create a to-do item, we're going to say we're going to just quickly create one. And ID is, we'll create an ID that's on the fly. It's complete. We'll always say they're not complete to begin with, and we'll assign it the title. We'll add it to our collection, and then we will return it. To complete an item, and I'm not going to bother with any kind of error checking in here. Obviously in a real system you'd want to make sure this thing didn't throw crazy exceptions. What I've done there. Okay, it's just a little warning, I haven't finished. Not really any code for 6 weeks really, so I forgot some of these things do. It's been one of those months. Okay, so mark one as complete. So we will just say from our collection dot single, where the ID is equal to the ID we're given, is complete equals true. And then return test dot complete a task. And finally, to get all, we're literally going to say task.from result. Return the collection. Okay, so that's a really simple repository we've created there. And now finally, we're going to create the command handlers. And there's an interface we need to implement called iCommandHandler. And its parameter takes the command type as the first parameter. There's an optional second parameter which we'll use in a moment. And in here we're just going to inject our repository. And we're going to use our repository to mark the item as complete. Okay, and then I'll add another one to create the to-do item. And this thing, the second parameter, is the return type of the command. I want that command to return as a to-do item, so the parameter on the command will actually specify that. Okay, so back to our handler, we can now implement the interface. And we just want our to-do item repository, which will inject again. And in here, we're just going to return repository.create command.title. So these are just really thin wrappers over our repository. And then finally, we're going to add our get all. So again, an iCommandHandler. The command type is the first parameter, and then our read-only collection of to-do items is the second generic parameter. Okay, and again, all we're going to do is just pass through our get all. Okay, so we've declared 3 commands, 3 command handlers, some services, and a model. So what we now need to do is wire this together into a function, an Azure Functions application, and we do that with a function app configuration class, which I'm going to call, unsurprisingly, function app configuration. And this is a public class, and it needs to implement the iFunction app configuration interface, which is a function monkey interface and lets you essentially do this declarative approach to binding functions to commands. And in here we say builder.setup, and this will have a couple of parameters. The first one is an iService collection, and the second one is an iCommand registry, which will hopefully become a bit clearer what they're for in a second. So for the collection we're going to essentially add a singleton I to do item repository, so register I to do item repository as a singleton, and then we're going to use registry to say find all the commands and command handlers in the assembly containing the create to do item command. And that will kind of wire up the underlying infrastructure in the commanding mediator system that sits under this, so that it's aware of the commands and the command handlers. Okay, so having done that, we will say we'll declare our functions. And here it's just functions. Okay, and here we just want an HTTP route. We put all these on a to-do path. Then we're going to just wire up 3 HTTP functions on this route. And the first one will be our create to do item. And you specify the command type that you want the functions to be bound to as the generic parameter, and we're going to put that on the post. Then we'll declare another function, which is our get all, and we're going to put that on the get method. And then we're going to put our complete to do item on a subpath of complete and call our HTTP method .patch. Put that on the patch method. Okay, so in theory that will set up our dependency injection and commanding subsystem and register these 3 functions. And if I run this, hopefully we will see that's the case. Okay, you can see I've got 3 functions in the Azure Functions runtime down here, and I have handily opened Postman already, so we can go and test these things. So let's and we'll begin by creating our function. So I'll just copy that URL out and then go to Postman, and let's just zoom in on this so everybody can see it. Okay, so we're going to create a new sort of Postman thing. Our to do, and we're going to post one, and we need a body, raw, I'll make that JSON, and in here, if you recall, we just need to supply a title, my to do item, and if I run, it's on a post verb, so if I send this, we should get back in the response our created to do item. Okay, we do. My to do item, it's not yet complete, and there's its ID. So let's just note the ID. I'll put that on a clipboard for a second, and let's just do a get to the same endpoint with no body and run that. Okay, so now I've got an array of all our to do items. So that's the get all command being executed, and finally let's move this to our patch on the complete endpoint. So again, we'll use a body, and this will be ID is our ID. If we run this, there's our 200 response. And if we just go back to get on our back on our to-do path and get all, you can see that is complete is true. So that's like a whirlwind tour of building a REST API with FunctionMonkey and Azure Functions. I'll put some links in the video to some other more useful material that sort of expands on this, like validation, authorization, other function types, and hopefully that's useful. And as this is part of the Azure Advent Calendar, happy Christmas everybody. Thanks for watching.